2 of our I can't talk today. You know why? Because I was in a very important meeting this afternoon.
Okay.
And now my brain is like thinking about that and not, it hasn't switched over to gardening yet. Get my head out of the gutter into gardening. Yeah, flip. Hey guys, welcome back. This is part 2 of our October garden tour. We are in the backyard today and I can't wait to show you how everything is looking. To begin with, it's a little bit messy, I won't lie. There's areas where I'm just like, look, but don't look too closely. And I know you're all probably in the same boat. It's just, you know, things kind of get away from us and things start changing quickly this time of year. So there's definitely certain areas where I walked and I'm like, ooh, like what happened here? So I need to get out here and do some cleanup, but I'm also just kind of letting things go, and then we're gonna come in and do some massive cleaning, which I am very excited about. So let's start in the side garden because that is an area I kind of want to talk about a little bit. Not much has changed over there, but I did tidy it up a little bit more. So I want to show you that space, and then we will just go around the whole place and talk about what's going on, what my ideas are, and where my brain is at right now. So as you know, this space we are going to be designing together with my good friend Kate from Hello Garden. I can't wait to have her come back, and we are going to be doing some shopping, maybe shopping together, some planting together. There are definitely some things that I've thought about since our last design session that she did in our garden. I am really looking to make this space feel like it's interactive, and it's probably one of the very few spaces that we're going to have like a really beautiful path, because we don't really have paths within our beds in the back, if that makes sense. I'll show you guys in a minute. So I really want to be like mindful and thoughtful of how we design that path back here. But if you come forward, there's going to be just beautiful like beds on either side of this like winding path that we kind of talked about doing. And now that our neighbor took out this big behemoth tree that was over here, which I'm so excited and thankful for, because one, it opens up the possibilities of planting other things. Now it's kind of going to be full sun. We do have kind of like late afternoon shade here, right? It's not like full sun. Like late afternoon, we still get a little bit of shade, but it's going to be pretty wide open. And the other reason is because as beautiful as that tree was, it was leaning and it caused such a mess. Like our gutters and the backyard, and the pine cones would drop and it would just explode everywhere, which actually kind of looked pretty in the winter time. It kind of gave that like cottagey feeling, but I know it was a nightmare for us to clean off the grass. So I am so happy. Because of that, I've kind of rethought about like what we're going to be planting over here. I definitely want to come in with big trees. I did buy 2 really large containers at Farmington Gardens this last weekend that we're going to be planting a couple of maples in. And I want to incorporate like potted trees over here. And that's because there are 2 trees for sure that when we move, they are coming with me. So I don't want to plant them in the ground. I want to put them in a container because they're so beautiful. They're sentimental to me. So I want to make sure that we take those. So on this side, ideally what we would like to do is actually change out our fence. And I have somebody coming this weekend to talk about just to see what that's going to look like. But this area is probably going to be a wider bed that we're going to be planting up. The path will kind of like meander back here, and then this will be full of evergreens and then smaller shrubs underneath and the perennials and all the good stuff. I really want to put another Vanderwolf over here because that is one of my favorite evergreens. You guys know this. And I think it would be actually very beautiful over here by our shed. Now this wood, I am hoping to get this out of here before Kate comes back to our garden, because it's kind of hard sometimes to visually see things with all of the stuff in the way. And we only use this space right now as kind of a holding cell to a lot of things that I've purchased and not planted yet, because sometimes you find a good deal or you get excited about something and you can't help but just buy it and figure it out later. But yeah, excited. I'm not compulsive. Yes, I am. Oh, impulsive. I think you say compulsive. I was like, well, I can be. But, you know, these are all things that I really love, and I can't wait to get them underground. But I do have a little bit of a, I do get overly excited about things. So anyways, we do have a plan for a lot of these scenes. Once we have this all cleaned up and buttoned up, that I think is going to really like get our juices going and thinking about what we want over here. And then on the opposite side over here next to the house, we also want to come in with smaller trees and shrubs and all of the other good stuff. This is right outside our primary bath, and we have a really beautiful tub in there. Put up a picture. But anyways, that area is really special, and we love to be able to look out into the garden. So when we plant this space, I really want to be mindful of what our view is going to be too. Obviously, planting more evergreens to create that screen for us and for our neighbor is going to allow us to have more privacy, which was the main focus of like when we were planting our trees in the beginning. Those are just some very preliminary ideas that we're thinking about this space. So not a lot to show you guys over here, but I just wanted to give you kind of a sneak peek of where my head is at and what we're thinking. Now let's actually move into the garden. And over here, you can just see how beautiful and golden everything looks. I especially love that we get the borrowed view of some of our neighbors' trees on their side, because look at how beautiful that is. And actually those are on the main street over there of our neighborhood. And it's just such a beautiful backdrop in our backyard. So I really love that I get to enjoy that space. Over here, we do have not a ton going on. I did remove some of the zinnias and other flowers that I had in here before, just because they were getting really bad with the powdery mildew, and it was time. And it's always a hard, kind of like that hard transition, because you start taking away some of those bright, colorful things. And then you actually get to evaluate what that space is doing for you when those things are gone. So it's also an opportunity for me to think about like other shrubs, maybe some smaller growing things that are going to be evergreen for us here. So definitely thinking about that. Our witch hazel is starting to turn color, and just look at how pretty. Hold on, let me just pull this off. And it even has like some blooms on it. Wow. Very, very early. Huh. I mean, these are not their regular blooming time, but there's a lot of little clusters. These typically bloom in the winter time. And it's fun because witch hazels, you can start pruning them up into trees, which is what we want to start doing with this guy. But it just has like the most beautiful, like almost fringe-like flowers in the winter time. Our persimmon, this is a Fuyu persimmon, is thriving and full of fruit. I mean, just look at this. This is massive. We do need to come in here and stake these branches. If we come through here, this is one other thing that I've thought about, is how I didn't incorporate actual paths in here. I wish I had, but it's okay because I enjoy the garden, like these beds from the cut flower space, so it's not too bad. Nothing has changed much here. I did plant this arb. This came from the front. I put it in here. I do want to plant something around them just to bring a little bit of color. But this is where we had some more cut flowers in this space. So you can see I've already started to clean that up, and it feels nice, you know, because it's so cluttered in here during the summertime, which, you know, I love that look, but it's nice to get a little breathing room. This is our panache fig.
Supposedly.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like a panache, and it's done this twice. It's supposed to have striped figs, but it doesn't. And so we're like, who swindled us into thinking that this was a panache? And actually, do we have any ripe ones? So you can see it's been raining a lot, so these just burst open. So that's not great. We do need to come in here and clean them up and start harvesting the ones that are getting ready to be eaten. And you can see this is what the inside looks like. It's very, very jammy. It really just tastes like a fruit with a ton of jam on it. It's incredible how tasty these are. I'm probably not going to eat that one because it has a little bit of a rotten patch on it, but it needs to be pruned way back. We did a hard pruning on it last year. Actually, I think we have a video of that. The year before? Was it the year before? We did a video on that. We really just took it way back, and it needs to be taken back again. And that is the thing about fig trees. They are forgiving, and they like to be pruned hard. A lot of people get afraid and they'll just take like a little bit here and there. But through our experience anyway, over the last, oh gosh, what, 5 years we've been growing figs? We've really we hack them down and they come back with a vengeance the year after. So don't be afraid to really give your fig trees a good pruning. We're going to be pruning our neighbor's huge fig tree, which it needs it. Like, it's begging to be pruned. There's just too much growth. It's not breathing. And it's like when we start noticing how the fruit production has decreased, we know that like it's time to get it under control. Our emperor maple here still has all of its leaves, still looking good. Our Hollywood juniper back there actually put on a lot of size. So not a lot has changed back here other than the fact that I removed the cosmos and some of the pumpkins that we had. One thing that really took off this year is this juniper. Like, I feel so like small compared to it. It was tiny when we planted it. This is year 3, right? This is the year that it leaps. Remember we talked about that? What was it? Sleeps, creeps, and leaps, right? Isn't that, you guys probably know garden sayings more than I do, so confirm down below what that saying is. But it's growing. It's growing really beautifully. If you look down here, you can still see there's a lot going on. We have fallen dahlias, we have cosmos that are just ready to be pulled out. We have weeds, we have volunteer plants, we have grasses, we have dirt in our dry river. So there's just lots going on back here, but it's okay because I'm going to come in this weekend and we are going to clean this space up together. And so you guys will see that transformation, but it still does look kind of pretty, right? Even though it's messy. I'm OCD, but I can tell your brain is like, this needs to be cleaned up.
Dying and stuff.
I know you're not. You're not as bad as I am. One of our new additions this year, our Leland Rider.
Gold Rider.
Yeah, Gold Rider. Yeah, Golden Rider. Leland Cypress. These actually put on quite a bit of size this year. Like, we were worried.
It was your height.
It was my height, yeah.
With the bucket or with the pot.
Well,
it definitely put on like almost 2 feet.
2 feet, yeah. It's liking it back here. So
Leland Cypress are fast.
They are, right? You're right. They are.
The Gold Rider is a dwarf variety.
It is. Should be. Yeah, that's us.
Another panache fig situation.
Yeah, no, we planted 3 of these. We do plan on keeping it tight, but I wanted to have more screen back here, so even if it does get kind of big, it's okay. Our magnolia is doing great. Let's see. Where do we want to go? Let's go into the cut flower garden back here. Not a lot has changed back here. You can see that our flowers still have a little bit of color. I think we did get down to about 38 last night, so it wasn't a frost yet, but you can definitely tell they're pretty much like almost done for this season. The dahlias are definitely on their way out. The zinnias have been on their way out for a while, especially here in the cut flower garden, but I know some of them in the landscape still look really nice, so I'm just kind of leaving them on. But it'll be nice to come in and clean this up. Obviously, it's always a sad moment to see all of this go because this is this area that I spend every day, every morning, every night, and it's always just really hard for me to say goodbye to the garden, and I get very emotional about it.
Why is that?
Why?
Why does it seem like the flowers in the garden are doing better than the ones in the cut flower garden?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know if this area just has a little bit more protection. So like, look at these zinnias, how well they look. Those look great. And I also think it's the variety. Those are pretty nice, like tried and true varieties. These are newer ones that came out. And although they performed amazing, that could be it. But I also think it's the microclimates that we have in our garden, which we've talked about a little bit. There's just different areas where things perform better, and it could be just because it's maybe not getting hit with that cold as much as these are. Like, these are super exposed, where those I feel are a little bit more protected. That could be it. But don't you notice how like even our Even our dahlias, some areas they actually look better than they did in the actual dahlia patch or dahlia beds. So
Well,
yeah, that is an interesting observation. And I think it could also be because these are not competing for nutrients. There goes the squirrel. He's the one, I swear, there's like one that he just likes to dig in our pots. I'm just like, you have so much space. But one of you did mention like they'll take the path of least resistance. So I get it. Anyways, it could be because these are also competing for more nutrients where there's not a ton over there. So maybe that's why they look better right now. Not too sure. Over here we have our Ruby Falls redbud and it looks beautiful. Look at that gorgeous fall color. Oh my gosh, I love this tree so much. It has like every color. We have green, yellow, red, a little bit of brown. Just what a stunning tree to have in your garden. And I do want to prune it up just a little bit so it's not just so droopy, but I also kind of like that look. And you see it already has a ton of buds for next year, which is incredible. You'll see that this thing just turns into like a purple magic situation. Over here, our tomatoes are still doing okay. It's been raining a lot, so not a ton of production, but that's expected this time of year. I do want to come in and just cut all of the ones left so we can enjoy the rest of them. I'm not sure what we're going to do with this bed next year. We talked about making this into a dahlia bed too. Well, I talked about it. But we do love growing tomatoes so much, and it's one of those things that like in the beginning of time when we didn't have a lot of space, we got really good at growing tomatoes. So, and we eat them a lot. So, I don't know, we might need to rethink that idea, or I might need to rethink that idea. Sergey had this, he threw this idea out there to have this bed in the back be his, and he grows flowers in here. And then
it is mine. It is mine.
It is technically your bed that I gave you. And then we have a competition to see who grows the better flowers. Obviously, I would win, but that's just my opinion. Here we have our coral bark maple, and it's putting on a really beautiful yellow color show. And it's funny because when we first bought it, the bark was very red, and you'll typically see that with younger trees. I'm hoping it's going to pick up more of that red color in the wintertime. Somebody told us that the more sun that these get, the redder their bark becomes. And this is coming from a grower here in Oregon. So hopefully,
and it got full sun.
It did get full sun. So yeah, I'm hoping that it will take on more of that like coral color that we love. And that's the thing with maples. If you are in a zone where you can grow maples, I highly recommend it, because to me, these are interest 12 months out of the year, because you get beautiful summer interest. The fall color is amazing. Spring, unmatched. I think a lot of people they kind of oversee how beautiful maples are in the springtime, but they really put on such a gorgeous show, and it kind of all comes on at once, which is really fun. Where fall, they kind of go through an evolution of change, like different ones go at a different time, which is nice because then it kind of staggers that interest. But I do think maples also look gorgeous in the wintertime if you know how to prune them. That is the key to having a beautiful maple. There's this garden that I love, or this neighborhood that I love, and there's a garden there that has just beautiful plants. But one of the things that just kills me is whoever their arborist or whoever maintains their garden, they shape everything into a lollipop. And I'm like, why would you do that to a maple? You never, ever do that to a maple. I mean, obviously do what you love, but in this case, I'm like, don't do that.
It's like taking a hedge trimmer.
Yeah. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's a gorgeous garden, and then I see the maples and I'm like, oh my gosh. But anyways, to each their own, I guess, but I would never ever do the service to a maple like that, because these are meant to be just open and intricate and beautiful. And that is why I think these provide interest all year round, especially if you can get landscape lighting. Over here, it's kind of a mess. This is just anxiety for me, this corner of our garden right now. so much anxiety when I come back here because it's just so much going on. I need to get after it. I already did remove the sweet peas that we had on our trellises. You can see that area's kind of gotten cleaned up. We still need to remove our dead beech tree, which I guess it's Halloween, so it kind of, you know, goes with that like spooky season. But yeah, that needs to come out. Now this is the area where Sergey and I are not seeing eye to eye because we bought a new beech tree and I wanted to plant it back here. He thinks that there might be something weird with this area that it will not survive. And they are kind of an investment, so I don't want to risk it. So we're thinking of putting a Vanderwolf over here that we also purchased, and then a beech tree up there where one of our figs are. So I need you guys to comment down below and tell me what you think.
So why
Yes.
the Vanderwolf here? What do we talk about?
So we talked about the Vanderwolf to create more privacy and start blocking the post.
And the beech tree won't do that.
The beech tree won't do that. But my thing is the beech tree, that color is so stunning in the summertime that it's worth having it here and not having anything back here. But and then of course you get to see that ugly post. So I don't know. But if
my biggest concern is something's weird in the soil, there's something's going on, let it cycle through.
Yeah. But do you think the Vanderwolf won't be impacted by it?
No.
No?
Because you have other cedars or pines around here.
Yeah.
Just fine.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If we did put in the Vanderwolf there, I don't know if I'd want to keep this Bush's Electra Deodorus cedar here. I feel like that might be too similar in color. I don't know.
But the growth,
they're
pattern,
very different.
Everything.
Yeah.
Texture's different, everything.
Do you know that this can get 15 feet wide, I think? Isn't that wild? Or bigger, actually. I think it can get wider. We'll never let it get that wide, obviously, but it can.
This was one of the first trees
planted
here.
Yeah.
That was, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
4 years ago.
Okay, what is that? Creep? Leap? It's been
No. You gotta, no, it's sleep. It's sleep, creep, leap.
It's been sleeping.
Wake up. But we do prune this back pretty hard every year because I don't want it to get bigger. This would have been a good tree to put in front of something else that gets a little bit bushier in my opinion now, but I don't know. I like it though, but there are days where I'm just like, you're not really doing much. And it's kind of pokey. So I don't know. I still like it. It's very northwest. I just realized I didn't spread this pile of mulch. So, you know, life. Some of our zinnias and our dahlias here just look so beat up and just, they need to be cut back at this point. They were very beautiful about a week ago, but my gosh, they're done. They're done. And that's yeah, we had so much rain, but that's the thing. I didn't stake these. And when you plant dahlias in the landscape, I highly recommend you stake them at planting time. Just because one, it's something that I forget. And towards the end of the season, I promise you, they're going to fall over. They're going to get heavy. You might get a gust of wind, and that's when they really just topple over. So don't skip staking. I mean, I think in beds, it's a little bit different because you can start growing them like tightly together, but I still corral them. But yeah, in the landscape, you just don't want to risk it. Not much going on with our Avondale redbud. Look at that, it has flowers on it. Yeah, that's odd. I still kind of want to move this. I don't love its placement. I'd rather put something a little bit like more, I don't know, like something columnar and evergreen over here and bring this up front. I don't know. I'm still like.
I don't like the leaf color.
You don't? But you picked this tree. You did, because you like the spring interest. You 100% did.
Yeah, the purple flower.
Yeah.
For the bees.
Yeah, for the bees. Yeah, that's right, because you're like specifically wanting them for your mason bees.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this here. Our lollipop crabapple looks beautiful as ever. I love this tree so much. I definitely want to bring it in this winter time, but just look at all of those little berries on there. So sweet. And the birds go wild. We have like a flock of birds that come every year. I don't know much about birds, but maybe you guys know what they are, but they're like a black bird, oh gosh, they're not too big. And they have like these like flicks of yellow or white all over their body, but they come every year without missing or skipping a beat, and they'll eat the berries, they'll eat the figs, and then they'll leave. So it's really sweet having them here, because I do like to create a habitat for as many things as we can in our garden. That is very important to me. Allen Wick Rose still looking beautiful. We still have some buds on there, so I'm expecting maybe a little bit more color out of it. Let's see, if we go over here, you can see I've removed a lot again of the sweet peas, so that's kind of opened up that area. Our Ruby Jewel vine maple is also just losing all of its leaves. Still a little bit of color over here, but it lost its leaves. I kind of want to move this to the side garden because it's getting too much sun over here. All of this will come out too, so this whole area is just going to be nice and neat. We have the new roses we planted, and we have 4 more roses coming. I think 4 or 6. I'm not sure, but I ordered 4 more roses. And make sure, you guys, you have till the 25th if you want to order any roses from Heirloom Roses. You can use code Claudia20 at checkout for 20% off. So that expires on October 25th if you want to get any more roses. So all of this will be gone here soon. So all of these zinnias, the cosmos, we have some scabiosa, planted around as well. That will all be leaving here relatively soon. We have some more dahlias over here that these were just kind of leftovers that I had, and I didn't know where to put them, so I just tucked them away in the landscape. And one thing that I want to be mindful of next year is, how do I say this? Be more intentional with how I plant things. And it's so funny because when you guys comment and you guys tell me how beautiful my garden is, I have like the worst imposter syndrome. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing. So it's such a surprise to me. And like, it makes my day when you guys comment those sweet things about my garden. It's definitely like, it's gone through so many iterations. When we got it, it was just a lot of grass, 2 big trees. There's like a random cherry tree over here. And then we had like a little pumpkin patch that we grew things in. And then we grew a bunch of stuff in pots. And then, you know, we finally saved up and we got to level the backyard and do all of these things. So we've learned a lot in the last 3-4 years. And I still think I'm learning a ton, and a ton from you guys. So it's just always humbling, I guess, when you guys like my garden. It like makes me feel so good, but it's also, I'm getting to that point where I want to be more intentional of what I'm planting, have like little vignettes around, you know, create like those little special moments in like garden rooms the best way that I can. So anyways, there's just so much to still do in this space. I feel like I'm not done yet. There's still a lot I need to give this space, but it's finally starting to feel like our own. And that makes me feel really happy. So anyways, we have the Shishigashira maple, ton of new growth. That poor thing has been planted like twice because we had to lift it a couple of times. And we weren't sure that like if it was going to make it actually, because there used to be a huge oak tree right where it's at. And typically you don't want to plant above like a stump, but we risked it and it's doing fine. It's doing fine now. We have some ice cap roses here, which I cut down because they did not look good, and I don't recommend people doing that. It was a total experiment, and they're doing better now. But they had, gosh, what was it? They were attacked by something. I can't remember. I don't know. But anyway, so I cut them down just to see if they would bounce back, and they have. Also, our paper bark maple is starting to put on a little bit of color. Not quite yet. And this one also has been sleeping, Sergey. It is a slow grower, but my gosh, it's been like super slow. Super slow. So we've thought about...
Every year you claim that it's
dead. Yeah, it does. Well, it does look dead. Like, it does look dead. And then it like, in the springtime, it starts putting on a little bit of growth and boom. But it's like, it's one of my favorite maples. It just needs to get to where where we need it to be. Here's my beauty, my prince of the garden. This is our Vanderwolf. And you can see it's starting to have some yellow needles. Totally normal. Don't freak out if yours do that. It will drop a lot of these needles and then it will just fill right back in, especially in the springtime. It starts to get really, really fluffy. And remember, third year growth or fourth? No, fourth year. Fourth year, and it was about my size when we planted it. So it was about 5 feet 4, 5 feet 5 when we put it in. It was tiny. So that just shows you how like great these trees can look. And also, our Weeping Alaskans are doing phenomenal. Like just in the last 2 months, they really took off. We will definitely need to prune, keep an eye on this one so it's not infringing too much on that Shishigashira maple. Right here is the other burgundy jewel that we transplanted from the front, and it's doing good. I will keep an eye out on it, but it's doing good. This is the area that Sergey was thinking about removing our fig. This is a king fig, and putting in that new beech tree. So let me know your thoughts. So what that means is we would remove this guy. And the reason why this probably has to be moved anyway is because it doesn't produce a ton of figs. And I think it's because it's not getting enough sun, right? We talked about that. Where like everything else, it does a better job at fruit production, and figs do need quite a bit of sun to do well. And we do get a first crop, like a good first crop, but and then the second crop is not that great. And it ends up dropping a ton of figs. So I think regardless, we need to move this fig, maybe put it in a container. This one is readily available, so we might give this one away to somebody. I'm not sure. So what that means though, we would put this beauty over here that we purchased in its space. My only hesitation is, we do know it gets pretty big, right? We do know a beech tree can get big. With everything else in our garden, we keep it pruned up. But my only thing is, because those leaves are also dark, like green purple, it resembles too much the color of this maple. But completely different structure, right? This was your
completely different
growth
pattern, leaf shape,
everything. So you don't think it'd be too matchy?
Not at all.
No. So I don't know. We're I feel like this is an argument, ladies. I'm not gonna win. So I'm just gonna give in, I think, and we'll plant it there because I feel like everything else I win. So yeah, but I'm excited. Either way, I'm excited to get it in the ground and get this fig moved somewhere else and find a better home for it. On our deck, look at how beautiful our maples are looking. Let's actually go up here so I can show you guys. We planted these containers together and they were looking really nice, except the squirrels came in here and they dug up a couple of the pansies. Like they completely dug it up and it looked terrible. So I came in and just tried to revive them a little bit. So these containers did get kind of roughed up a bit, but the maples are putting on such beautiful color. Like, look at this. How pretty is that? And it's just so delicate. Oh, I love it so much. This is why I can't imagine not growing maples. They're such a staple for us in our garden. And especially like when you look out in the morning and you have like this one over here is just, let me just step out of the way so you can see how pretty it is. It almost just glows, which I love. All right, now if we step off the deck, I still want to come in and do something with this half moon concrete pad over here. I think we talked about waiting because eventually we do want to replace the bottom of the deck because it's so old. We did refinish it this summer, which has been beautiful. So that could be, I don't know when we would get to that, but I do want to have more of like a landing strip. So it kind of creates a little bit of, I don't know, more cohesion, I guess, just because I feel like you stepped onto this concrete and then you step right into the mulch and then you're on the grass. So it just feels like too much transition. And if I just had flagstone over here, I think that would be So beautiful. The only thing we have to remember is we have our sprinkler head right here. So it might need to come out over here. Or maybe we just put flagstone around it. I don't know. So definitely want to think about that next year. The hydrangeas that we planted together also look really nice. They're putting on a little bit of fall color. I mean, gosh, I wish I showed you guys these earlier on, but you might have seen them in other videos because they had just beautiful, like a soft raspberry pink color to them before they started turning into this brown color. But little limes are just one of my favorite hydrangeas. Over here, we still have a ton of things that need to get planted. This is kind of an extension of the holding area of a lot of plants. Now, the cut flower garden is obviously not looking at its best because, again, we're at the end of the season. The dahlias, you can see I've like stripped them down just because once that frost hits, everything gets kind of like slimy and gross. And it's one less thing I need to worry about when I'm cutting them down. And it saves me time because I'm not trying to clean them as I'm cutting them down. But I will be digging up all of our dahlias and dividing them. And then once I see how they look in the springtime, I might do like a very small limited sale this year and then do something bigger next year, just because I'm still recovering from all of the ones that we lost last year during that big freeze that we had. But I want to think about, I'm not going to do too much as far as like what we plant in our beds. I definitely want to get more dahlias in, so I might take one more bed away and just dedicate it to dahlias. But I do want to think about what we do in the cut flower garden because, gosh, probably ever since we brought in the gravel and the edging, my dream was to put boxwood hedging around the entire garden, the cut flower garden. Gosh, I don't know. I think I talked about it in a video like a year or two ago, that was like one of the things that I've always wanted. I think it would look so beautiful. The only concern that I have about boxwood is blight. I know that's becoming more of a problem here in the Northwest. So let me know your thoughts down below. If you guys do have boxwood hedges, are you afraid? Have you guys been hit by blight? What is that like? I've never grown boxwoods, so I can't really speak to them yet, but I've been doing a ton of research as I love to do. But I think that would be really pretty. The only downside is I love being able to just walk into the cut flower garden from like any angle. And if we kept it short, which I wouldn't let it get tall. It's more so about just creating like more winter interest versus like actually having like a wall, an actual border. That's not what I want. I just want it to be just outlined with something. I don't want to have to step over it. So that's the only like thing holding me back why we wouldn't do it. But I've already been talking to a couple of nurseries about getting quite a bit of them in if we go that route. The other route was, I think it was gosh, I forgot. I need to look at my notes, but that could be a substitution for the boxwoods. But let me know your thoughts down below, like in your experience with boxwoods. The other downside of having the boxwood would be that we'd only have one entryway, like proper entryway into the cut flower garden, which was kind of like the idea of this arb anyway. I wanted people to want to walk through it the way that I do. But that means this grass here it'd be very high traffic and I could see it getting damaged. But the solution for that would be to have flagstone on the grass coming through. It wouldn't be any like formal path. It would just be like Sergey had a good idea, just to have flagstones kind of sink into the grass and still kind of feel naturalistic in that way. So that could be a solution. And of course, I will always just hop over whatever hedging we have. I don't mind that. I'm just thinking about the people that we welcome into our garden. But I also think about when we bring in compost every year to amend our beds. We usually bring it in a wheelbarrow because we buy it in bulk. So does that mean I would have to transition into buying bagged compost or using like a bucket to, scoop it up into the beds?
Blow it, which becomes
Ooh,
very expensive.
yeah, that does. Yeah, for compost, I don't think I would spend the money on that. I would in the actual garden, but not in my beds. Because next year we were just talking about this. It was so much work to bring in all of the compost that we did. We've mentioned this before, but we don't use mulch in our garden. We actually use compost as mulch because we try to build up our soil. The only place is the side garden. We haven't really done any compost or anything over there. So that will be coming up. But I'm thinking though, next year when we do bring in our mulch compost, I want to see how much it will be to spray it, because there's so many little areas that it's hard now to maneuver the wheelbarrow that I just don't like. It's just not worth it because it's so much time. If you just move the wrong way, you can hurt yourself. And I mean, I guess that's what happens when you plant tightly the way that we do. So it was kind of one of those things in the back of our minds when we were designing our tree situation.
It'll be fine.
It will be fine. We kept saying that, like, we'll be fine. Who cares? But now it's like, well, it's kind of tricky now, right? And I want to be mindful of our time too, just because, you know, we don't have a ton of time to just dedicate to mulching this whole yard every year with compost by bulk, wheelbarrow. So is it worth the cost? It may be. So anyways, let me know your thoughts on the boxwood hedging. Do we love it? Do we hate it? Do we leave it? What's your thought? All right, well, that will wrap up our October garden tour. I hope this was fun for you to see, especially because there's so many new faces on here and you guys haven't seen my garden in all 4 seasons yet. So hopefully this was insightful, and just to enjoy some of those beautiful colors, all the yellows and oranges and reds. It's just so yummy this time of year. As hard as it is to transition from summer color to fall color and then winter, it's always like a good reminder for me to be in the season and enjoy that transition, because it's also a transition for us as gardeners to kind of go through that change with our garden. So I'm really excited for the cleanup videos that we're going to be doing here and showing you guys how drastically different things will look. You might not think so, but just wait till everything is lifted and you can really just see how open things get. And just for all of the new things that I'm thinking about, dreaming about, I am so excited to just fine tune my ideas and my, I don't know how to even say it, just like all of the beauty that I want to continue creating. We did it with the trees. Now it's like, okay, I understand shrubs more. I understand perennials more. I really want to get my layering good, and texture. That to me is so important and visually like sensual in a garden, because it's more intimate that way. So anyways, thank you so much for watching today's video and hanging out with me today in my garden, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.